Have you ever caught yourself thinking about the same negative thought over and over and over again? I'm not good enough. I'm always messing something up, or I just never seem to have enough money. Most of us don't even realize it, but we're thinking these types of thoughts way more than we would like to believe. It's almost so bad that most of these thoughts come on automatically. And it's exactly why renewing your mind isn't just this nice idea. It's one of the most important things that you can actually ever do for yourself. What I've learned is that the more that you think a specific thought, the easier it becomes for your brain to think of it again. And that's something that scientists call neuroplasticity. It's, in simpler terms, our brain constantly rewiring itself based off of what you repeatedly think, feel, see, or do. I like to think of it this way. Imagine that you're walking through a field. The very first time grass is tall and you're just pushing things out of the way and you're just stamping and stomping on things to kind of mush them down. And as you walk, they start to create a path. And as you walk every single day, eventually that distant, faint path turns into a trail. Then that trail turns into the easiest path for you to follow. And so now you know where to walk every single day. And every time that you tell your brain the same thing, I'm bad with money, you strengthen that pathway. Every time you think, I always get anxious, I'm always nervous, you strengthen that pathway. So every time that you constantly replay that embarrassing moment from 5 years ago, or the reasons why that relationship didn't work out, or just simply something that didn't necessarily work in your favor, you are telling your brain that it is okay for you to continuously remember that. Most people get stuck here because they're like, well, where do I go? How do I start? I'm going to share with you 5 simple steps on how you can become aware of your thoughts and what you can do to change them. And awareness is the first step to move forward towards this change. Step number 2, question the story. Always question it. Just because you think of something doesn't mean that it's true. Your brain's job is to keep you safe. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful every single time. Your brain often tells us stories that are compiled with our fears and our past experiences and just simply some of the worst case scenarios that we may be thinking or that may have been fed to us. So you might be thinking to yourself, I'm never going to get out of debt. I'm never going to lose the weight. I'm never going to move forward. But you have to then ask yourself, is that a fact or is that a fear? Because your brain believes what you repeatedly accept without questioning. So if you always tell yourself that these are the things and this is what it is, and never say, well, why am I this way? Why am I doing this? Then your brain is just going to do it without a question. And so then in turn, you are going to keep repeating the same pattern. Step number 3, replace things, but don't remove them. This is where so many people get stuck. They try to stop thinking negative thoughts. That almost never works. Because if I told you, don't think about a pink elephant, what did you just do? Exactly. You immediately thought of a pink elephant. Now, instead of trying to erase the thought, replace it. Instead of thinking, I'm terrible with money, say to yourself, I'm learning how to manage money so that I can be better every single day. And instead of saying, I always fail and I'm never going to succeed in life, try saying, I'm becoming someone who finishes what they start. Notice the difference here. You're not lying to yourself. You're giving your brain a new direction. You're telling your brain that, okay, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm certainly not going to sit here in this space. And ultimately, I have created a path where eventually I can grow and get into and move into the direction that I want to be in. Step number 4, support your mind with your environment. That means that your environment is constantly programming you. If you want to get out of poverty and you are constantly around people who are negatively speaking about money, don't have a mindset of being better and wanting to invest, that are always saying, no, I don't want, I'm more money, more problems, or you don't have to save money. That's never going to get you anywhere. It's going to keep you right there. And it's the same with the music that you listen to, or the podcast that you consume, or the social media accounts that you follow. Every conversation, whether you are participating in it actively or just simply listening to it, plays a part in what your brain receives, because your brain doesn't understand the difference between what you are actually saying and what someone else is saying. It understands what it is repeatedly hearing. So if you spend 3 hours a day consuming negativity, you shouldn't be surprised when your mind feels negative. So feed your mind with things that are going to make you wiser, calmer, stronger, and more financially savvy. Step number 5. Repeat it until it becomes your identity. So many people like to call it delulu. Be delusional. Tell yourself whatever it is that you want to be or what you are becoming, what your dreams are, until ultimately you are finally in that space where you are actually that person living out your dream. And I am all for it, because this is where so many people quit. They practice a new mindset. Myself, I've been there, done that for 2-3 days and maybe even a week, and then nothing changes. So then they decide, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. Or unconsciously they just stop because their pathways hadn't built in a path that was clear enough, so they weren't able to keep walking it on their own. But you have to create that pathway by walking it over and over and over again, almost forcing yourself to believe that, hey, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire. That's how our brain works. What you repeat, it will become, because every repetition makes the pathway stronger. And eventually, if you do not give up, what once feels unnatural is going to become automatic. Confidence will become automatic. Gratitude, automatic. Discipline, automatic. And not because you were born that way, but because you trained your brain to be that way. Have one. Because what once felt difficult to you before now comes to you with ease. It's second nature, but only because you kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. I believe that a healthy mindset isn't something that you are actually born with. I believe that it is something that is cultivated and created one thought at a time, one choice at a time, and one day at a time. So the next time that you catch yourself thinking, this is just who I am, I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this truly who I am? Or is this simply what my brain had to walk through the most? Because if it's a path, you for sure can build a new one. And so I want you to remember this. Your life doesn't change the moment that you think of a positive thought. Your life changes when you decide that you are going to consistently practice better thoughts until they become better beliefs. And those beliefs then become better decisions. And then those decisions become better habits, until ultimately those habits build a different identity. And eventually that identity creates a completely different life. Because renewing your mind isn't complicated. It's very simple, honestly, but it's up to you to choose over and over to think in a way that moves you forward towards the person that you actually want to become. And the beautiful part about it is you can actually start with your very next thought, because your life will almost always follow the direction of your strongest thoughts. So change your mindset and you will quite literally change your life.